Dad, please, you can't do this. We talked about this. It's not fair.
It's already done.
The receptionist's fingernails bit into my wrist hard enough to leave marks as my daughter Ottilia stood 20 feet away with her back turned, speaking into her phone in that bright corporate voice she used with clients. And this young woman with panic in her brown eyes leaned across the marble counter of Serenity Wellness Center and hissed 5 words that would save my life and destroy my daughter. "Don't sign anything. Just run." I stared at her, at the terror in her face, at the way her hand trembled as she glanced toward Ottilia, and my brain started putting together pieces I'd been too stupid or too trusting to see before. The expensive spa package Ottilia had bought without my asking for it, the thick stack of forms she'd handed me the moment we walked in, the way she'd insisted I come here today. "For your health, Dad, you need this." And now this receptionist, whose name tag read Sarah Klein, was practically begging me to escape. And every instinct I'd honed in 67 years of life screamed that something was terribly, dangerously wrong. My name is Robert Hayes. I'm 67 years old. I spent 40 years as a civil engineer before retiring to my house in Phoenix, and this is the story of how my only daughter tried to have me declared mentally incompetent so she could steal everything my late wife and I built together, how a frightened receptionist risked her job to warn me, and how I discovered my wife's hidden files that gave me the ammunition to destroy Ottilia's scheme and make her pay for every manipulative lie she'd told. Let me go back 8 months so you understand how I ended up in that wellness center with a stranger warning me to run. My wife, Catherine, died last November after 44 years of marriage. Heart attack. Sudden. She was 64, healthy, active, and then one Tuesday morning she collapsed in our kitchen while making coffee and was gone before the ambulance arrived. I found her on the floor. Called 911. Performed CPR until the paramedics took over. Watched them work on her for 20 minutes before they stopped and looked at me with those eyes that said there was nothing more they could do. Catherine and I had built a good life. I'd worked as a civil engineer for the city of Phoenix for 40 years. She'd been a high school math teacher for 35. We'd saved carefully, invested wisely, paid off our house, and accumulated about $3 million between retirement accounts, life insurance, and property. Not rich, but comfortable, secure. We'd planned to travel, volunteer, enjoy our grandchildren when Ottilia finally had kids. Catherine's passing destroyed me. We'd been together since college. She was my best friend, my partner, my person. Suddenly I was alone in a too-quiet house with nothing but memories and grief. Ottilia came to the funeral, of course, cried appropriately, hugged me, told me she'd be there for me, then went back to her life in Scottsdale with her husband Brandon and her real estate business. For the first month after Catherine died, I barely functioned, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, just sat in the house surrounded by 44 years of accumulated life, photos, furniture, Catherine's clothes still in the closet because I couldn't bear to move them. Ottilia called once a week. Brief conversations where she asked if I was okay, and I lied and said yes. Then month 2, Ottilia started visiting more, coming by the house unannounced, bringing groceries, cleaning. At first I was grateful. My daughter was helping her grieving father. But then I noticed she was also going through things, opening drawers, looking through files, asking questions about finances, about Catherine's life insurance, about the house value, about my retirement accounts. "Dad, you need to think about estate planning," she said one afternoon while sitting at my kitchen table with a notepad. "Mom's gone now. You need to make sure everything's organized in case something happens to you. I have a will. When's the last time you updated it? 5 years ago, maybe. That's too old. Laws change, tax codes change. You need to talk to an estate attorney. I know someone good, Brandon's lawyer. I can set up an appointment." "Ottilia, I don't want to think about this right now." "Dad, I know it's hard. But you have to be practical. What if something happens to you? What if you get sick? Who has power of attorney? Who makes medical decisions? These things need to be in place." She was right, technically, but something about the way she pushed made me uncomfortable, like she was too eager to get into my finances, too interested in who controlled what. Month 3, the incident started. Small things that made me question my own mind. I'd find my reading glasses in strange places, the garage, the refrigerator, the bathroom cabinet, when I knew I'd left them on my nightstand. My car keys would vanish for hours, then reappear in my jacket pocket. Bills I was certain I'd paid would arrive marked overdue. Appointments I didn't remember making would show up on my calendar. I started thinking maybe grief was affecting my memory. Maybe at 67 I was starting to decline cognitively. The fear of dementia or Alzheimer's crept in. What if I was losing my mind and didn't even realize it? Ottilia reinforced these fears. "Dad, you forgot about lunch yesterday. I waited at the restaurant for an hour." but I had no memory of planning lunch. Dad, you left the stove on last week. The neighbor called me because she smelled gas. But I rarely use the stove. Dad, your doctor's office called. You missed your appointment. But I hadn't scheduled any appointment. 4 months after Catherine died, Ottilia brought Brandon to the house. Brandon was 42, slick, successful in commercial real estate development, the kind of guy who wore expensive suits and drove a Porsche and talked about market opportunities constantly. He'd always been polite to me, but distant, like I was just the father-in-law he had to tolerate at holidays. Robert, Ottilia's worried about you, Brandon said, sitting in my living room like he owned it. She says you've been having memory issues, forgetting things, getting confused. Have you seen a doctor? I'm fine. Are you? Because Ottilia says you forgot to pay your electric bill last month and nearly had your power shut off. That was true. The bill had fallen behind my desk, and I'd missed it. One mistake. One mistake doesn't mean I'm incompetent. No one's saying you're incompetent, Ottilia jumped in. We're saying you're grieving and maybe overwhelmed. It's normal, Dad. But you need support. Maybe you should consider moving somewhere with more structure. An assisted living community where they handle the bills and cooking and maintenance. I'm not moving to assisted living. I'm 67, not 90. Dad, it's not about age. It's about quality of life. These places are nice now, like resorts. You'd have your own apartment, but with services. No more worrying about the house or bills or... No, this is my home. Catherine and I bought this house 44 years ago. I'm not leaving. Brandon tried his smooth approach. Robert, think about it from a financial perspective. This house is worth probably $800,000 now. You could sell it, move into a nice senior community for half that, and have $400,000 liquid. That's security. That's freedom. I don't want to sell my house. But keeping it is a burden. The maintenance alone? I said no. They'd left frustrated. But Ottilia didn't give up. She kept calling, kept visiting, kept pointing out things I'd supposedly forgotten or messed up. And I started doubting myself more. Were they right? Was I declining and too proud to admit it? 5 months after Catherine died, Ottilia insisted I see a doctor. Dad, just get a checkup. Make sure everything's okay. I'll go with you. I made an appointment with Dr. Lawrence Mitchell. He's a psychiatrist who specializes in geriatric issues. I don't need a psychiatrist. Dad, please. For me, just one appointment so I can stop worrying. I went. Dr. Mitchell's office was in a modern building in downtown Phoenix. The appointment felt strange from the start. Instead of asking about grief, Dr. Mitchell asked about memory. Did I forget names, get confused about dates, have trouble managing finances? He gave me basic cognitive tests. Draw a clock, repeat numbers backward, remember a list of words. I did fine on the tests, but Dr. Mitchell still seemed concerned. Mr. Hayes, I see some signs that we should monitor. Early cognitive changes. Nothing definitive, but worth tracking. I'm recommending you come back monthly for assessment. What kind of cognitive changes? Mild forgetfulness, slight confusion on time orientation. These could be normal aging or early indicators of something more significant. We need to monitor. He prescribed medication, something for memory, something for anxiety. I filled the prescriptions but never took them. Something felt wrong about that whole appointment. Like Dr. Mitchell had already decided I had problems before I walked in. 6 months after Catherine died, Ottilia brought up power of attorney again. She'd had her lawyer draw up documents. Dad, this is standard. You designate me to make financial and medical decisions if you become unable to make them yourself. It's just a safety net. If I become unable? When, Dad? Everyone gets old. Everyone eventually needs help. This just ensures I can help you when that time comes. I read the documents. They gave Ottilia complete control over my finances and medical care the moment she decided I was incompetent. Not when a doctor decided. When she decided. That felt wrong. I'm not signing these. Dad, why are you being stubborn about this? Because these documents give you total control. You could lock me out of my own accounts. You could put me in a facility against my will. These aren't a safety net. They're a trap. Ottilia's face hardened. A trap? You think I'm trying to trap you. I'm trying to protect you. From what? From yourself. You're declining, Dad. You forget things constantly. You can't manage the house. Last week you called me at 3 a.m. thinking Mom was still alive. You're not well. I never called you at 3 a.m. Yes, you did. You were confused and disoriented and talking about Mom like she was in the next room. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You don't even remember these episodes. But I would have remembered a 3 a.m. phone call. I would have remembered thinking Catherine was alive. Either Ottilia was lying, or I was losing bigger chunks of time than I realized. The fear crept in again. What if I was sicker than I thought? 7 months after Catherine died, Ottilia showed up with a new approach. Dad, I want to take you to a wellness center. It's called Serenity Wellness Center. They specialize in grief counseling and health assessment for seniors. It's not therapy, it's more holistic. Relaxation techniques, nutrition consultation, cognitive wellness. I think it would be really good for you. We could go together. Make it a father-daughter day. It sounded harmless, nice even. A chance to spend time with Ottilia and maybe get some help processing grief. Okay, that sounds fine. Great. I already made an appointment for next Tuesday at 10 a.m. I'll pick you up. And that's how I ended up walking into Serenity Wellness Center on a Tuesday morning in July, 7 months after my wife died, with my daughter by my side and no idea I was walking into a trap. The Serenity Wellness Center occupied a low-slung modern building in North Phoenix, all glass and desert landscaping and fountains. Inside was even more impressive: marble floors, soft music, earth-tone furniture, the smell of lavender and sage. Very expensive, very exclusive looking. Ottilia walked me to the reception desk where Sarah Klein sat behind a computer. Sarah was maybe 30, thin, with dark hair pulled back and worried brown eyes that kept darting to Ottilia and then to me. "Good morning," Ottilia said in her bright business voice. "We have an appointment at 10. Ottilia Hayes and Robert Hayes." "Yes, of course." Sarah's hands trembled slightly as she pulled out a clipboard with forms attached. "Mr. Hayes, I'll need you to fill out these intake forms. Standard medical history, insurance information, consent forms." Ottilia's phone rang. She glanced at it. "I need to take this. It's a client. Dad, you start on the forms. I'll be right back." She stepped outside, already talking into the phone. I looked at the forms. The first page was standard: name, address, medical history, current medications. But as I flipped through, the questions got stranger. Have you experienced memory loss in the past 6 months? Do you have difficulty managing finances? Do you require assistance with daily living activities? Have you experienced confusion about time or place? Do you sometimes fail to recognize familiar people? These weren't wellness center questions. These were cognitive impairment screening questions. I looked up at Sarah. She was staring at me with those frightened eyes. She glanced toward the door where Ottilia stood outside, then back to me. Her hand shot across the desk and grabbed my wrist, hard. "Don't sign anything," she whispered urgently. "Just run." "What?" "This isn't what you think. Your daughter, she's trying to have you declared incompetent. The forms you're holding include consent for psychiatric evaluation and commitment. If you sign them, the doctors here will evaluate you and diagnose you with dementia or cognitive impairment, regardless of your actual condition. Then, your daughter gets guardianship and control of your assets. I've seen this happen 3 times in the 4 months I've worked here. Please, go out the back exit before she comes back in." My brain struggled to process this. My daughter wouldn't... Yes, she would, and she is. She paid $15,000 for this evaluation package. That's not normal. That's not wellness therapy. That's a pay-to-diagnose scheme. Please, just go. Back exit is through that hallway. She pointed to a corridor past the reception area. I looked at the forms again, saw paragraph 5 on page 3. "I hereby consent to comprehensive psychiatric evaluation and agree to abide by all medical recommendations, including but not limited to residential care placement, medication regimens, and guardianship arrangements deemed necessary by the evaluating physicians." Holy hell. If I signed this, I was giving them permission to lock me up. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked Sarah. "Because it's wrong. I can't watch it happen again. That man 3 months ago, Mr. Peterson, he was healthy, just grieving his wife. His son brought him here. He signed the forms. The doctors evaluated him for 4 hours and declared him incompetent. Now he's in a memory care facility even though there's nothing wrong with his mind. His son sold his house and took all his money. I can't be part of that anymore." I looked through the glass doors. Ottilia was still on her phone, her back to the building. I made a decision. "Thank you." I stood, left the clipboard on the chair, and walked quickly down the hallway Sarah had indicated. Past treatment rooms, past a yoga studio, past offices. Found a door marked emergency exit, and pushed through into scorching July heat and a parking lot behind the building. My car was parked in front. No way to get it without Ottilia seeing me. I pulled out my phone and called an Uber, 3 minutes away. I stood behind a maintenance shed, heart pounding, feeling like I was 90 instead of 67. The Uber arrived, a young guy in a Toyota. I climbed in. 3847 East Cactus Road, please. As we pulled away, I saw Ottilia come around the corner of the building, phone still at her ear, looking around frantically. She didn't see me leave. My phone started ringing. Ottilia. I silenced it. It rang again. Then text started. Dad, where are you? Dad, the receptionist said you left. What's going on? Dad, call me. I'm worried. I didn't respond. I just sat in the Uber, hands shaking, mind reeling. My daughter had just tried to have me committed to a psychiatric facility and declared incompetent so she could take my money. My only child, the little girl I'd raised and loved. She'd tried to destroy me. Catherine's voice echoed in my memory, something she'd said a few months before she died. We'd been talking about Ottilia and Brandon's new house, some massive thing in Scottsdale they couldn't really afford. Catherine had said, I worry about Ottilia. She's changed since she married Brandon. She's so focused on money now, on status. I don't like what she's becoming. I'd dismissed it, said Catherine was being judgmental, but she'd seen something I'd missed. She'd seen our daughter turning into someone who'd try to steal from her own father. The Uber dropped me at my house. I went inside, locked all the doors, stood in my living room trying to figure out what the hell to do next. Call the police? And tell them what? That my daughter took me to a wellness center that might be fraudulent? I sounded crazy even thinking it. My lawyer. I needed to call my lawyer. But it was Tuesday. James Brennan probably wasn't available on short notice. Then I remembered something. 2 weeks after Catherine died, when I'd been going through her things to start organizing her paperwork for probate, I'd found a filing cabinet in her craft room that was locked. I'd tried a few times to open it, but couldn't find the key, and eventually I'd gotten distracted by grief and forgotten about it. Catherine had kept that cabinet locked always. I'd never thought much about it. Figured it was just personal stuff she wanted private. But now I wondered, what if Catherine had known something? What if she'd documented something about Ottilia? What if that's why she'd warned me to be careful in those final months? I went to Catherine's craft room. I still couldn't bring myself to clear it out. Everything exactly as she'd left it. Found the filing cabinet. Still locked. I tried the obvious places for a key. Her desk drawer, her jewelry box, taped under the cabinet. Nothing. Then I remembered. Catherine used to hide spare keys in a small wooden box shaped like a book that sat on her craft room shelf. I pulled it down, opened it. Inside were random keys, buttons, tiny sewing items, and one small silver key that looked like it might fit a filing cabinet. It did. The cabinet opened. Inside were 4 drawers packed with files. I started pulling them out. The top drawer was labeled Household Financial. Bank statements, investment reports, tax returns, all normal. Second drawer, Medical Insurance. Catherine's medical records, insurance policies, prescriptions. Normal. Third drawer, Personal. Private. I opened the first folder. It was labeled Ottilia College Years. Inside were letters from Ottilia during her college years at ASU, photos, report cards, sweet memories of when our daughter had still been the person we'd raised. Next folder, Ottilia Marriage, Brandon. This one was thicker. I opened it and found printed emails, bank statements that weren't mine, and a handwritten letter from Catherine dated 2 months before she died. The first email was dated 6 years ago, right after Ottilia married Brandon. From Ottilia to Catherine. Mom, I need to borrow $30,000. Brandon's real estate deal fell through, and we're short on the house down payment. Can you transfer it from Dad's retirement account? I'll pay you back in 6 months. Catherine's response. Ottilia, I'm not comfortable taking money from your father's retirement account without discussing it with him. If you need a loan, your father and I should talk about this together. Ottilia's reply. Mom, please don't tell Dad. He'll just lecture me about financial planning, and Brandon will be humiliated. I'm asking you, not him. You have access to the accounts. Just transfer it. I'll pay it back before Dad even notices. And then a note in Catherine's handwriting. Transferred $30,000 from Robert's IRA on 3/15/18. Ottilia promised to repay within 6 months. I flipped to the next email chain, dated 8 months later. Ottilia. Mom, I need another $40,000. The house renovation went over budget and we're maxed out on credit cards. Can you do another transfer? Catherine. Ottilia, you never paid back the first $30,000. I can't keep taking money from your father's accounts without telling him. Ottilia. Mom, I said I'd pay it back, and I will. Things have been tight, but this renovation will increase the house value, and then I can refinance and pay you back everything. Please, don't make me beg. Another note from Catherine. Transferred $40,000 on 11/2/18. Total owed $70,000. More emails followed. More loans. more promises to repay. Over 5 years, the emails documented Ottilia borrowing $285,000 from Catherine, who'd been taking it from my retirement accounts, our savings, our investment accounts. Small enough withdrawals that I wouldn't notice in quarterly statements, especially since Catherine handled all our finances. And Ottilia had never paid back a single dollar. The last email in the folder was dated 4 months before Catherine died. Catherine: Ottilia, I can't keep doing this. You owe $285,000 that you've never even attempted to repay. Your father and I need that money for retirement and medical expenses. I'm telling him about the loans unless you start paying them back. Ottilia: You can't tell Dad. It'll destroy our relationship. He'll hate me. He'll probably hate you too for keeping this secret. Is that what you want? To spend your final years with Dad resenting you? Catherine: My final years? Ottilia: Come on, Mom. You're 64 and Dad's 67. You don't have that many years left. Why cause drama over money? When you guys die, I'll inherit everything anyway. Think of the loans as an early inheritance. Catherine: That's a horrible thing to say. Ottilia: It's realistic, and honestly, Dad's already starting to slip. Have you noticed? He forgets things, gets confused. Give it a few years and he won't even remember this money existed, so why tell him now and cause problems? I stopped reading. My hands were shaking so hard the papers rattled. Ottilia had stolen $285,000 from us over 5 years, convinced her mother to keep it secret, and then suggested Catherine would die soon so it didn't matter, and she'd noted that I was slipping. Had she been planning this for years? Even before Catherine died? I kept reading. Catherine's handwritten letter was dated 2 months before her passing. Her handwriting was shaky, showing the effects of the high pressure that would kill her. Robert, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I'm so sorry. I should have told you about Ottilia's borrowing while I was alive, but I was ashamed. She manipulated me. She'd call crying about financial emergencies and Brandon's business problems. She'd swear she'd pay it back. I believed her because she's our daughter and I wanted to help. But 6 months ago, I finally checked. Ottilia and Brandon aren't struggling. They're wealthy. They own their house outright plus 2 rental properties. Brandon's real estate business is very successful. They didn't need the money, they wanted it, and they used my love and trust to steal it. I confronted Ottilia 3 months ago. She laughed at me, said I couldn't prove anything, that she'd deny it all, that you'd never believe I gave her that much money without telling you. She said by the time I could make trouble, I'd probably be dead anyway, given my age and high pressure. She was right. I'm dying, Robert. I can feel it. The doctor says my pressure is dangerously high, and the medication isn't helping. I have maybe months. After I'm gone, Ottilia will come after you. She'll try to get control of your finances. She'll try to have you declared incompetent so she can access your accounts. She's been practicing already. I've heard her tell people you're getting forgetful and declining. She's building a narrative. Don't let her win. Don't sign anything she brings you. Don't give her power of attorney. Protect yourself. Use these files to show what she's really after. I love you. I'm sorry I kept this secret. I was trying to protect you from knowing our daughter is capable of this. But you need to know now. Fight her. Win. All my love, Catherine. I read the letter 3 times. Catherine had known she was dying. Had known Ottilia was planning to come after me. Had left me evidence to protect myself. And I'd nearly walked right into Ottilia's trap because I'd been too trusting, too grieving, too blind to see my own daughter's predation. The 4th drawer in the filing cabinet contained more evidence. Catherine had documented everything. Bank statements showing the withdrawals, printed emails, even a private investigator's report Catherine had commissioned 6 months before she died. The PI report was damning. Ottilia and Brandon owned 4 properties worth a combined $3.2 million. Brandon's real estate company had revenues over $2 million annually. They drove expensive cars, took luxury vacations, belonged to exclusive clubs. They weren't struggling. They were rich. And they'd stolen nearly $300,000 from us while pretending to be in financial trouble. The report also included something else, evidence that Ottilia had been researching elder law and conservatorship proceedings. The PI had screenshots from Ottilia's computer showing searches for how to get power of attorney over elderly parent, declaring parent incompetent, guardianship laws Arizona, and elder care facilities Phoenix. She'd been planning this for at least a year, probably longer. The memory incidents, my glasses disappearing, appointments I didn't remember, bills I supposedly forgot to pay, those weren't me declining. That was Ottilia gaslighting me, making me doubt my own mind, building evidence for incompetency proceedings. And today had been the culmination. Get me to sign those forms at the wellness center, have doctors declare me incompetent, get guardianship, seize control of my accounts, sell my house, put me in a facility. She'd have had access to everything, my $3 million in assets, plus the house worth $800,000. Nearly $4 million total. My phone was ringing constantly now. Ottilia. I let it ring. Texts kept coming. Dad, please call me. Dad, you're scaring me. Dad, if you don't respond, I'm calling the police for a wellness check. Let her call. Let her try. I had evidence now. Evidence of theft, fraud, conspiracy. Evidence that she'd been planning to steal from me for years. Evidence that Catherine had tried to warn me and document everything. I sat in Catherine's craft room surrounded by evidence of my daughter's betrayal and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Clarity, purpose, rage. Catherine had given me the tools to fight back. Now I was going to use them. First, I needed to protect my assets. I called my bank. This is Robert Hayes, account number 4729516. I need to put a hold on all accounts immediately. I'm a potential victim of elder financial abuse, and I need to prevent unauthorized access. The bank representative was professional and efficient. Within 20 minutes, all my accounts were locked with additional password verification required for any transactions. No one, including anyone with power of attorney, which Ottilia didn't have yet but might try to forge, could access them without answering security questions only I knew. Next, I called my investment advisor. Same process. Lock everything down, add additional security layers, document that I was protecting against potential financial exploitation. Then I called James Brennan, my attorney, got his voicemail, left a message. James, it's Robert Hayes. Emergency situation. My daughter tried to have me fraudulently committed today, and I need your help immediately. I have extensive evidence. Please call me as soon as possible. My doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. Ottilia, looking frantic. I didn't open the door. Dad, I know you're in there. Open up. What's going on? Why did you leave the wellness center? You're not thinking clearly. I'm worried about you. I stayed silent. She rang the doorbell again, knocked, called my name. I went to my bedroom at the back of the house where I couldn't hear her. After 20 minutes, she left, but the texts continued. Dad, please talk to me. Dad, you're having some kind of episode. Dad, I'm calling Dr. Mitchell. You need help. I turned off my phone. I spent the rest of that day photographing every document in Catherine's files. Every email, every bank statement, the private investigator's report, Catherine's letter. I uploaded everything to secure cloud storage, emailed copies to myself, and made physical copies that I put in a safe deposit box at my bank. Evidence secured, assets protected. Now I needed legal help to figure out how to fight back. James Brennan called back at 6 p.m. Robert, I got your message. What's happening? I told him everything. The wellness center, Sarah's warning, Catherine's files. The $285,000 Ottilia had stolen, her plan to have me declared incompetent. James was silent for a long moment after I finished. Robert, this is one of the most egregious cases of elder financial exploitation I've encountered. Your daughter has committed multiple felonies, and the wellness center is likely running a criminal enterprise if they're diagnosing incompetency for pay. What can we do? Several things. First, tomorrow morning you're getting a full cognitive evaluation from an independent physician. We need documentation that you're mentally competent. I'll arrange it with Dr. Patricia Sandoval. She's a geriatric specialist who does competency evaluations for courts. Her assessment will be unimpeachable. Second, I'm filing for a restraining order against Ottilia. She's threatened you, attempted fraud, and poses a danger to your financial security. The restraining order will prevent her from contacting you or coming near you. Third, we're filing a civil lawsuit against Ottilia and Brandon for fraud, theft, and financial exploitation. We're suing for the $285,000 they stole, plus interest and punitive damages. Arizona allows treble damages for fraud against vulnerable adults. We'll ask for $1 million. Fourth, I'm reporting this to Adult Protective Services and the Phoenix Police Fraud Division. Ottilia has committed crimes. She should face criminal charges. Will they prosecute? With your evidence? Absolutely. Catherine's documentation is devastating. The emails alone prove fraud. Add in the private investigator's report and Catherine's letter, and you have an ironclad case. How long will this take? Months, maybe a year. Civil litigation is slow, but we'll get restraining order protection within days. That's the immediate priority, keeping Ottilia away from you while we build the case. James, she's my daughter. I know, and I'm sorry. But your daughter is a criminal who tried to destroy you for money. She needs to face consequences. He was right. I spent that evening reading through Catherine's files again, absorbing the full scope of Ottilia's betrayal, the way she'd manipulated Catherine, The way she'd laughed about Catherine's impending passing. The way she'd noted my decline and planned to exploit it. My phone, powered back on, showed 37 missed calls from Ottilia and 23 text messages escalating from concerned to angry to threatening. The last one said, "Dad, I'm filing emergency guardianship papers tomorrow. You're clearly having a psychiatric crisis. I'm getting you help whether you want it or not." I forwarded that text to James Brennan. He replied, "Perfect. She just threatened you in writing. That helps our restraining order petition." I slept better that night than I had in months. Not because I was happy. Finding out your daughter is a sociopath isn't exactly joyful, but because I finally understood what was happening and had a plan to fight back. Catherine had given me the tools, James would help me use them, and Ottilia was going to learn that stealing from your parents has consequences. Dr. Patricia Sandoval's evaluation the next morning was comprehensive and unforgiving. 2 hours of cognitive testing, memory assessment, problem-solving exercises, and detailed interview about my daily functioning. She was in her 50s, no nonsense, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. When we finished, she reviewed her notes and looked at me seriously. "Mr. Hayes, I see no evidence of cognitive impairment. Your memory is excellent. Your reasoning is sound. Your judgment is intact. You score above average for your age group on every metric. If someone has told you you're experiencing cognitive decline, they're either mistaken or lying. My daughter has been saying I'm declining for months. Based on what evidence? She says I forget appointments, misplace things, seem confused, but I don't remember these incidents. Because they likely didn't happen. What you're describing sounds like gaslighting, someone creating false memories or attributing actions to you that you didn't commit, making you doubt your own perception of reality. It's a common tactic in elder financial abuse cases. I went to a psychiatrist 5 months ago, Dr. Lawrence Mitchell. He said I had early cognitive changes. Dr. Sandoval's expression hardened. On what basis? He gave me some basic tests, clock drawing, word recall, that sort of thing. And you performed well? I thought so, but he still seemed concerned. I'm going to request Dr. Mitchell's notes from that evaluation. If he diagnosed cognitive impairment without objective evidence, that's highly problematic. Especially if your daughter referred you to him, that suggests possible collusion. Can you document my competency in writing? I'll write the most detailed report I've ever written. It will state unequivocally that you have full mental capacity to manage your own affairs, make your own decisions, and handle your own finances. Anyone who claims otherwise is either wrong or dishonest, and I'll testify to that in court if necessary. I took Dr. Sandoval's report directly to James Brennan's office. He read it and smiled grimly. This is bulletproof. No judge will grant Ottilia guardianship after reading this. Has she filed the petition? This morning, emergency guardianship claiming you're in immediate danger due to cognitive impairment and refusing necessary medical care. The hearing is scheduled for Friday, 3 days from now, but I've already filed our opposition, including Dr. Sandoval's evaluation. Ottilia's petition is going to be denied, and she's going to face serious questions about why she lied to the court. What about the restraining order? Granted. Judge signed it an hour ago. Ottilia is prohibited from contacting you in any way, coming within 500 feet of you or your property, or attempting any financial transactions involving your accounts. Violation means immediate arrest. I'm having her served this afternoon. And the lawsuit? Filed this morning. We're suing Ottilia and Brandon for $1 million in fraud damages. I've attached all of Catherine's documentation. The emails, bank statements, Catherine's letter, the private investigator's report. It's the most well-documented case I've ever filed. They have no defense. Will we actually get $1 million? Probably not. They don't have that in liquid assets. But we'll get the house, the rental properties, whatever we can seize through judgment enforcement, and the public record of their fraud will destroy them professionally and personally. What about criminal charges? I reported everything to Detective William Carson at Phoenix PD Fraud Division and to Adult Protective Services. Detective Carson is very interested. Says this is exactly the kind of elder abuse case the department wants to prosecute. He's opening a formal investigation, and Adult Protective Services is doing their own investigation of the Wellness Center. If they're running a conservatorship fraud scheme, APS will shut them down. James, this is happening so fast. It needs to. Ottilia was days away from getting guardianship over you. If you'd signed those forms at the Wellness Center yesterday, you'd be in a locked facility right now, and she'd be liquidating your accounts. Speed is necessary to protect you. The restraining order was served on Ottilia that afternoon at her home in Scottsdale. According to the process server, she'd screamed at him, thrown the papers back, and slammed the door. Then she'd violated the restraining order within 2 hours by calling my phone 12 times and leaving voicemails threatening to have me committed for my own safety. James reported the violations to the police. Ottilia was arrested that evening for violating a protective order. Bail was set at $10,000. Brandon paid it within hours. But the arrest was public record. By the next morning, Ottilia's real estate clients knew their broker had been arrested for violating a restraining order against her own father. 3 clients fired her immediately. 2 more asked for different agents at her brokerage. Her business started collapsing. The guardianship hearing Friday afternoon was brutal and quick. Judge Michael Thompson presiding, a stern man in his 60s who'd clearly dealt with plenty of guardianship abuse cases. Ottilia's attorney presented her petition first, arguing I was experiencing dangerous cognitive decline, refusing medical care, and required immediate protective intervention. He called no witnesses, just relied on Ottilia's written statements and Dr. Mitchell's 5-month-old notes. Then James presented our evidence. Dr. Sandoval's evaluation completed 3 days ago showing perfect cognitive function. My sworn statement describing Ottilia's gaslighting and manipulation, Catherine's files documenting Ottilia's theft of $285,000 and her planned fraud against me, the recording of Sarah Klein's warning at the Wellness Center, which I'd made on my phone after the fact when I'd called Sarah and asked her to repeat her warning on record. She'd agreed, saying she couldn't watch this happen anymore. Judge Thompson read through everything with an increasingly severe expression. Then he looked at Ottilia with undisguised contempt. Ms. Hayes, your petition is not just denied, it's being referred to the Attorney General's office for investigation of guardianship fraud. The evidence shows you've systematically lied about your father's condition, manufactured evidence of incompetency, and conspired with a psychiatrist and a wellness center to create false diagnoses. That's elder abuse. That's fraud. That's potentially multiple felonies. Ottilia's attorney tried to object. Your Honor, my client was acting out of genuine concern. Your client stole $285,000 from her parents over 5 years and was attempting to steal millions more. Don't insult this court's intelligence by claiming concern. Mr. Hayes, the restraining order against your daughter is extended to 5 years. She is not to contact you or approach you in any way. This court will be monitoring closely for any violations. We're done here. Ottilia stood up, face red with rage. This is bullshit. My father is senile. He's being manipulated by lawyers who want his money. Someone needs to protect him. Bailiff, escort Ms. Hayes from the courtroom before I hold her in contempt. Ottilia was physically removed, still shouting about my incompetency and manipulation. Brandon followed, looking mortified. Judge Thompson watched them go and shook his head. Mr. Hayes, I'm sorry you're going through this. Unfortunately, elder financial abuse by family members is more common than people realize. You're fortunate you had evidence and caught it early. My wife left me the evidence. She knew what was happening before she died. Then your wife saved you. Guard that evidence carefully. You're going to need it for the criminal trial. Criminal trial. The words hit me like a physical blow. My daughter might go to prison. Part of me felt sick at the thought, but a larger part felt grimly satisfied. She'd earned it. The criminal investigation moved fast. Detective Carson interviewed me extensively, reviewed all Catherine's files, and subpoenaed records from Ottilia and Brandon's accounts showing exactly where the stolen money had gone: home renovations, luxury vacations, designer purchases, country club memberships, none of it to legitimate business expenses or emergencies. He also investigated Dr. Mitchell, found that Ottilia had paid Mitchell $5,000 in cash before my appointment, payment for a diagnosis regardless of my actual condition. Mitchell lost his medical license within a month. The Wellness Center was raided by Adult Protective Services and shut down pending investigation. 3 other families came forward with similar stories of fake competency evaluations. 6 weeks after the guardianship hearing, Ottilia and Brandon were indicted on multiple charges: theft, fraud, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, conspiracy, and attempted conservatorship fraud. The indictment was scathing, laying out in detail their systematic theft from Catherine and their planned theft from me. They hired an expensive criminal defense attorney who immediately tried to negotiate a plea deal. The prosecutor's offer: plead guilty to fraud and exploitation charges, pay full restitution of $285,000 plus interest and penalties totaling $400,000, serve 2 years probation, and accept permanent bars from working in real estate, financial services, or any position involving vulnerable adults. Ottilia and Brandon refused, insisted on going to trial, claimed Catherine had gifted them the money willingly, that I was confused and had been manipulated into believing theft occurred. Fine, we'd go to trial. Let a jury decide. The civil trial came first. 8 months after Ottilia's attempted guardianship. The courthouse was packed. Elder abuse cases had gotten significant media attention after the Wellness Center scandal, and Ottilia's case was being covered as emblematic of the problem. James presented our case methodically over 3 days. Catherine's emails showing Ottilia's repeated requests for loans and promises to repay. Bank statements showing the transfers from my accounts. The private investigator's report proving Ottilia and Brandon were wealthy and didn't need the money. Catherine's letter describing Ottilia's cruelty and laughter. My testimony about the gaslighting, the fake memory incidents, the pressure to sign power of attorney documents. The most damning evidence was Ottilia's own emails to Catherine. James displayed them on a screen for the jury to read. Mom, I'll pay you back in 6 months. Never paid back. Mom, this is just temporary, I promise. It wasn't. Mom, by the time you guys die, I'll inherit everything anyway. Think of it as early inheritance. Casual mention of our passings as convenient. Mom, Dad's already slipping. He won't remember this money existed. Planning to exploit my supposed cognitive decline. Ottilia's attorney tried to argue that the loans were gifts, that Catherine had willingly given money to help her daughter, that family members help each other financially all the time. But he couldn't explain why Ottilia had never made a single payment toward the supposed loans, couldn't explain why she'd promised repayment if the money was gifted, couldn't explain the emails discussing my slipping and her plans to access my accounts after Catherine died. The jury deliberated for 90 minutes. Verdict, Ottilia and Brandon were jointly liable for fraud. Award, $850,000 in compensatory and punitive damages. Ottilia's face went white when she heard the verdict. She had to grip the defense table to stay upright. Brandon looked like he might vomit. They didn't have $850,000, not in cash. They had assets, the house, the rental properties, investments. But liquidating everything would destroy them. James filed for judgment enforcement immediately. Within weeks, liens were placed on all their properties. Their bank accounts were frozen pending asset seizure. Brandon's business accounts were frozen too, since he was jointly liable. They tried to appeal the verdict. The appeal was denied. They tried to file for bankruptcy protection. The judge ruled that fraud judgments aren't dischargeable in bankruptcy. They couldn't escape it. Over 6 months, everything was liquidated. Their $1.8 million house in Scottsdale, their 2 rental properties, Brandon's business assets, their luxury cars, their retirement accounts. Every asset they had was seized and sold to satisfy the judgment. The sales generated $1.1 million after paying off mortgages. I got my $850,000 judgment. The rest went to pay their legal fees and other debts. Ottilia and Brandon were left with nothing. They moved into a small apartment, both working hourly jobs, Ottilia as a retail clerk, Brandon as a property maintenance worker. Everything they'd built, everything they'd stolen from us to buy, was gone. But the civil trial was just the beginning. The criminal trial was scheduled for 2 months later. The criminal case was stronger than the civil case because it included the attempted conservatorship fraud. Ottilia had actually filed guardianship paperwork with the court containing lies about my mental state. She'd paid Dr. Mitchell to create a fake diagnosis. She'd planned to have me committed to a facility and seize my assets. All of that was documented and provable. The prosecution called witness after witness. Dr. Sandoval testified about my perfect cognitive function and Ottilia's attempts to create a false narrative of decline. Sarah Klein from the Wellness Center testified about the pay-to-diagnose scheme and how Ottilia had specifically requested evaluation that would support guardianship proceedings. The private investigator who'd compiled the report for Catherine testified about Ottilia and Brandon's actual wealth and their luxury lifestyle funded by stolen money. I testified for 6 hours over 2 days. Told the jury about Catherine's passing, about Ottilia's sudden interest in my finances, about the gaslighting and fake memory incidents, about the pressure to sign power of attorney documents, about the Wellness Center trap I'd barely escaped. Told them about finding Catherine's files and realizing my wife had known she was dying and had left me evidence to protect myself from our own daughter. The prosecution displayed Catherine's letter for the jury. Several jurors had tears in their eyes reading a dead woman's warning to her husband about their daughter's betrayal. Ottilia's defense was weak. Her attorney tried to claim she genuinely believed I was declining cognitively, that the guardianship petition was motivated by love and concern, that she'd made mistakes but not crimes. But the emails destroyed that defense. You don't plan to exploit your father's slipping mind out of love. You don't laugh about your mother dying soon because it makes the money easier to access out of concern. You don't pay a psychiatrist $5,000 for a predetermined diagnosis out of genuine worry. The jury deliberated for 2 days. I sat in the courthouse hallway with James, waiting. Part of me still couldn't believe this was happening. That my daughter might go to prison, that the little girl I'd raised had become someone capable of such calculated cruelty. But she had. Catherine had seen it, had documented it, had tried to warn me. And I'd nearly fallen into Ottilia's trap anyway because I'd loved her too much to see what she'd become. The jury returned. Guilty on all counts: theft, fraud, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, conspiracy to commit conservatorship fraud, and tampering with documents. Brandon was guilty as an accessory on most counts. Ottilia's face crumpled when she heard the verdict. She started sobbing, loud gasping sobs that echoed through the courtroom. Brandon put his arm around her, looking shell-shocked. Sentencing came a month later. The prosecutor asked for prison time, 5 years for Ottilia, 3 years for Brandon. Ottilia's attorney begged for probation, argued she'd already lost everything in the civil judgment, claimed prison would be cruel and excessive. Judge Helen Morrison was unmoved. Ms. Hayes, you systematically defrauded your dying mother and planned to do the same to your father. You paid for fake medical diagnoses. You filed false legal documents. You attempted to have your father locked in a facility so you could steal from him. These are not minor crimes. These are calculated, sophisticated frauds targeting the people who loved and trusted you most. The court finds prison time is warranted. Sentence: 4 years in state prison for Ottilia, 2 years for Brandon, followed by 5 years of probation. Full restitution already covered by the civil judgment. Permanent ban from working with vulnerable adults or in financial services. Requirement to undergo psychological evaluation and treatment. Ottilia screamed when she heard the sentence. Actual screaming, like an animal in pain. "Dad! Dad! Please! Tell them I'm sorry. Tell them I didn't mean it. Please don't let them send me to prison." She tried to run toward me. The bailiff stopped her. She kept screaming my name as they led her out of the courtroom. "Dad! Please! I'm your daughter! Don't do this to me!" I sat motionless, feeling nothing. She wasn't my daughter anymore. The daughter I'd raised wouldn't have done any of this. Ottilia had become a stranger wearing my daughter's face, and that stranger had earned every consequence she received. James put a hand on my shoulder. "It's over, Robert. She can't hurt you anymore." Did I do the right thing? You protected yourself from someone who was trying to destroy you. Yes, you did the right thing. Ottilia and Brandon were taken into custody immediately. No bail pending appeal. They'd served their sentences at state facilities. The media coverage was extensive. Daughter sentenced to prison for elder abuse scheme. Real estate broker steals from parents, attempts guardianship fraud. Father outsmarts daughter's plan to declare him incompetent. I became somewhat known in elder advocacy circles, was invited to speak at conferences about recognizing and preventing elder financial abuse, told my story to help other seniors understand the warning signs, gaslighting, pressure to sign documents, sudden interest in finances by family members, fake competency evaluations. Sarah Klein, the receptionist who'd warned me, became an advocate too. She testified before the state legislature about reforming guardianship laws and regulating wellness centers offering psychiatric evaluations. New laws were passed because of our cases, making conservatorship fraud harder to execute. I used my $850,000 judgment money to fund an elder advocacy foundation in Catherine's name, the Catherine Hayes Foundation for Elder Protection. It provides free legal help to seniors facing financial exploitation by family members. Catherine would have liked that, her suffering and documentation turning into protection for others. Ottilia served 3 years of her 4-year sentence before being released on parole. Brandon served 18 months. I never visited either of them in prison, never wrote, never responded when Ottilia sent letters begging for forgiveness and claiming she'd changed. 5 years after the Wellness Center incident, I'm 72 years old, still living in the house Catherine and I bought 49 years ago. Still healthy, still sharp, still managing my own affairs despite Ottilia's best efforts to paint me as incompetent. I think about Catherine every day, miss her every day, but I also feel grateful she left me those files. If she hadn't documented Ottilia's theft, if she hadn't written that letter, if she hadn't hired the private investigator, I would have walked into that wellness center, signed those forms, and lost everything. My freedom, my money, my dignity, my life. Catherine saved me from beyond the grave. She saw what was coming and left me the tools to fight back. Ottilia was released from prison 2 years ago. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she and Brandon divorced while she was incarcerated, that she moved to Tucson to start over, that she works as a waitress and lives in a studio apartment, that she's tried multiple times to contact me through third parties, always blocked by the restraining order that's permanent now. I don't care about her life or her struggles. She made choices. She stole from her dying mother. She laughed about Catherine's impending passing. She tried to destroy me for money. Those things don't get forgiven, they don't get forgotten, they certainly don't get rewarded with reconciliation. 6 months ago, I got a letter from Ottilia through my attorney. James called to ask if I wanted to see it. I said no. He told me the gist anyway, Ottilia claiming she's sober now, in therapy, understanding what she did wrong, desperately sorry, begging for one conversation. Do you want to respond? James asked. No. Robert, she's your daughter. She was my daughter. Now she's just a criminal who tried to rob me. Why would I want contact with that person? Closure, maybe. Healing. I have closure. She's in Tucson and I'm in Phoenix. She's working minimum wage and I'm financially secure. She's alone and I have friends and purpose. That's all the closure I need. James didn't push. He understood that some betrayals are too fundamental to forgive. When your own child tries to steal your freedom and your money, when they laugh about their parents' impending passing, when they show no remorse until they face consequences, you don't owe them anything. Not forgiveness, not contact, not compassion. 3 months ago, I was at the grocery store and saw Ottilia. Pure chance. She must have been in Phoenix for something. She was at the checkout ahead of me, hair grayer than I remembered, face harder, wearing a cheap uniform from some service job. She didn't see me. I watched her pay for a few basic items with crumpled cash, count out exact change, take her single bag. She looked tired, defeated, broken. Exactly what she deserved. I waited until she left before approaching the checkout myself. Didn't call out to her, didn't want her to know I'd seen her, didn't want any contact at all. That evening, James called. Ottilia's attorney reached out. She knows you saw her at the store. She's asking if you'd be willing to meet for coffee, just 30 minutes. She says she needs to apologize in person. No. Robert, maybe... James, what part of no is unclear? She tried to have me committed to a psychiatric facility. She tried to steal $3 million from me. She stole nearly $300,000 from Catherine and laughed when confronted. I don't care if she's sorry now. I don't care if she's suffered. She earned every bit of suffering she's experienced. The answer is no. It will always be no. And please tell her attorney to stop asking. Understood. I'll make it clear this is final. Last month, I celebrated my 72nd birthday. Spent it with friends from my advocacy work, people who've become my chosen family. We had dinner at a nice restaurant, toasted Catherine's memory, talked about the foundation's successes. We've helped over 200 seniors protect themselves from financial exploitation in the 5 years we've been operating. Someone asked if I had any regrets about how things turned out with Ottilia, if I wished I'd handled it differently, if I thought she'd really changed. No regrets, I said. I protected myself from someone who was trying to destroy me. Whether she's changed is irrelevant. I don't trust her and I never will, and that's okay. Not all family relationships are worth preserving. Some people prove themselves unworthy of your love and trust. When that happens, you let them go. Even if they're your child? Especially if they're your child, because children are supposed to honor and protect their parents, not prey on them. Ottilia violated that fundamental relationship. She can't unviolate it. She can be sorry, but sorry doesn't erase what she did or who she proved herself to be. This morning I was organizing some files and came across Catherine's letter again. Read it for probably the 100th time. Fight her. Win. I did both. I fought Ottilia and I won. Protected myself, exposed her crimes, ensured she faced consequences, built something good from the wreckage of our relationship. Catherine would be proud of that. She tried to protect me with her documentation and her warning. I honored that protection by using it to destroy Ottilia's scheme and help others avoid similar exploitation. That's legacy. That's love. That's how you honor someone who saved your life even after they're gone. The doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. A courier with a package. I opened the door. Robert Hayes? Yes. Delivery for you. Sign here. I signed and took the package. It was from James Brennan's office. Inside was a letter and some legal documents. The letter explained. Robert, Ottilia's attorney, filed a petition yesterday asking the court to modify the restraining order to allow one supervised meeting. The petition claims Ottilia is in recovery, has completed extensive therapy, and needs closure for her mental health. The court scheduled a hearing for next month. I'm confident the judge will deny the petition given Ottilia's history, but I wanted you to know about it. Let me know if you want to attend the hearing or if you want me to handle it without you. James. I sat with the letter for a long time. Ottilia was still trying, still pushing for contact, still acting like she had some right to my forgiveness or presence. The answer was still no, would always be no. But something about her persistence annoyed me, made me want to face her one final time and make absolutely clear that she'd lost, that I'd won, that there would never be reconciliation or forgiveness or any relationship at all. I called James. "I'll attend the hearing. I want to tell the judge directly why the order should remain in place." "Are you sure? You don't need to face her." "I want to. She needs to hear from me that it's over, that I don't forgive her, that she destroyed our relationship permanently. She needs to stop hoping for reconciliation and accept what she is, a criminal who tried to rob her father and lost everything because of it." "Okay, I'll notify the court you'll be present to oppose the petition." The hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks from today. I marked my calendar. One final confrontation with the daughter who'd tried to destroy me. One final chance to make clear exactly what I thought of her and her crimes. Then it would truly be over. The courtroom felt familiar, but this time it was final. Ottilia sat with her attorney, trying to look humble, reformed. I wasn't buying it. Judge Karen Bradley presided, sharp-eyed and unsympathetic. Ottilia's attorney spoke first, emphasizing her client's therapy, sobriety, employment, and desire for one supervised meeting to apologize. Judge Bradley raised doubts. "Your client tried to declare her father incompetent, stole from her dying mother. Why should her mental health matter more than Mr. Hayes' safety?" the attorney stammered. Judge Bradley turned to me. I stood, looking at Ottilia for the first time in 5 years. Her tears and trembling hands meant nothing to me. "Your Honor, I oppose any change. Ottilia didn't just betray me, she betrayed my late wife. She stole, lied, manipulated, and planned to take everything. Her apologies are meaningless. She's sorry she got caught, not for the harm she caused. 5 years of freedom, safety, and rebuilding my life have been worth everything. I will never forgive her, and I want no contact." Ottilia sobbed openly. Her attorney comforted her, but Judge Bradley showed no sympathy. Ottilia pleaded, "Dad, I'm sorry. I've changed. I help others now. 30 minutes. That's all I ask." I shook my head. "No, Your Honor. I just told her everything here. That's enough. I don't owe her closure." Judge Bradley denied the petition. The restraining order remained permanent. Ottilia cried, her pleas ignored. James touched my shoulder. "Let's go, Robert." I walked out into the bright Phoenix sunshine, finally free. That evening I opened Catherine's files one last time. Fight her. Win. I had. Ottilia would never contact me again. She'd lost her business, freedom, and family. I remained secure, protected, and purposeful, honoring Catherine's memory and helping others avoid the exploitation I survived. Sarah Klein, the receptionist who'd once warned me, called. I explained the hearing's outcome and my relief. Ottilia's fate was no longer my concern. On my back patio, I watched the sunset. The house quiet, but not lonely. The real victory wasn't her prison or loss. It was my freedom, dignity, and ability to live a life undisturbed, turning her attacks into protection for others. Justice had been done, fully, finally, and I was free.